Hello from the unofficial ScanNCut UK blog. Today's project is a Valentine's Day card created in non-traditional colours. My finished card is 12 inches square, although you can make this smaller if you want to. I really wanted to have a go at heat embossing a design from my ScanNCut, but please be aware, I do not recommend using an anti-static powder bag on your cardstock to remove static, etc. as obviously you don't want to get any sort of powder or dust inside your machine. I recommend going over your cardstock with a tumble dryer sheet instead. I've used a glue pen for the background design and drawn a calligraphy sentiment using a Brother calligraphy kit for the DX and a SIG embossed calligraphy pen. If you're a CM series user, then you can still draw calligraphy patterns, and I'll add a link for you to view that video. Let's get started. The pattern I'm using for today's project is one of the onboard designs in my SDX 1200. It's also contained within the memory of the CM 900. To access this, we're going to go into pattern, this section here, we're going to scroll down, and the one I'm using is in this folder here. So if you have a look through, in this section there's a lot of fantastic designs that are more intricate in nature, and the one I've decided to use is AR-0015. So I'm going to set that onto the mat. I'm now going to add a heart to my mat, so I'm going to go to add, pattern, basic shapes, and scroll down until I find a heart. And I'm going to use this one here, which just has a straight edge. I now need to increase this in size until it reaches 6 inches square. And say set. So the next thing I'm going to do is increase my main background design to its maximum size for a 12 by 12 mat. So I'm going to select it, edit, object edit, resize, and I'm going to keep hitting the plus button until the machine beeps. And that beeping is the machine telling me that the pattern has reached its maximum size for this mat. So I'm going to say OK, and OK again. Now I need to align my heart with the center of my background image. So I'm going to go to select everything on the mat, OK, object edit, align everything centrally vertically and everything centrally horizontally, and say OK. The next step is to punch out this heart from my background design. So I'm just left with a blank space in the middle. So I'm going to now hit the weld button, and as you will see, I've now got a heart shape cut out in the middle of my pattern, and the machine will say OK to weld pattern outline irreversible, and that's okay, that's what I want to happen, so I'm going to say OK. I now want to add a sentiment to the middle of my heart. I'm going to be drawing this sentiment calligraphy style. Now, unfortunately, I can't use my Brother calligraphy kit at the moment. It's a bit of a long story, but I had a problem with my original SDX 1200, and it went to Brother for repair, and they had to replace my machine. And my calligraphy kit is still registered to my original machine, so I need to sort that out. So instead, I'm using one of my own calligraphy sentiments. If you like this sentiment, it comes in a bundle of 80 plus sentiments, and I'll add a link to my Etsy store. So to do that, I'm going to go to Add, Retrieve Data, Machine's Memory, and I've already saved my sentiment into my machine and it's here. I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to group my background image and my sentiment together. I'm going to go to select everything on the mat, say OK, object edit and group. I want to make sure that the machine draws right in the center of my 12 by 12 cardstock. So I'm going to say OK, and if I go to nudge, you'll see there's a little red cross appears in the center of my design. So to make sure the center of my design is aligned to the center of my mat, I'm going to zoom in and zoom into 400%. I'm going to scroll across and down until I find the little red cross, and there it is. So now I'm going to just nudge down until this little red cross is aligned with the center of my mat. And as you can see, I've now managed to achieve that, so I'm going to say OK, OK, object edit, and I'm going to ungroup everything. OK, OK again, and I'm going to save everything to my machine's memory. So we're going to draw out our design in two separate sections. Firstly, we're going to draw out our main background design. We're going to be using a glue pen and glue pen holder from the Brother foiling kit to do this. Next, we're going to make good use of our Brother calligraphy kit. We're going to use the Brother calligraphy pen holder and stand together with a SIG embossing calligraphy pen to draw out our sentiment. So as we're drawing out our background design, first of all, at the moment we don't need the sentiment on the screen, so we're going to go to edit and we're going to make sure our sentiment is selected, and it is because it's got the red box around it, and we're going to hit the bin icon just to delete it and say OK. So now we're ready to put our glue pen into the carriage and load our mat. Okay, so now we're going to tell our machine to draw out our design using the foiling function. So we're going to say OK, OK, select, foil 1, glue. Now the reason that we're using the foiling function is because this will tell our machine to draw our design from the bottom up. And this will prevent two things from happening. One, then no glue gets onto our roller bars, and two, the glue will not smudge as the machine draws. Okay, so now our machine is telling us that we need to check the level of glue in our pen. And as you can see, my level is currently on 2. So I'm just going to adjust the level on screen to 2 and say OK, and I'm ready to go. So the machine has finished gluing out the design. I've replaced the Brother pen holder with the calligraphy pen holder, in which I have a calligraphy embossing pen. So I'm going to go to Retrieve Data, Machine's Memory, and go back to my original design and say OK. Edit, and this time I need to delete off my background design because we're finished with that for now. So I've just binned that and I'm left with my sentiment, which I'm now going to draw out as we normally do. So I finished heat embossing my design and I'm just going to ink around the edges to give my design some definition. I'm going to be using a couple of distress inks and I'll be back when I've done that to show you the finished results. So I finished inking my card and now I need to attach this to a card base. As my cardstock is 12 by 12 inches, I've created a card base manually, as obviously this is far too big to cut on the ScanNCut, and I've created a 12 by 12 card base, and I've done that by cutting some card with a rotary cutter with an old blade and a ruler and just adding a score line down the middle. So I'm going to go away and glue my card to my card base and then I'll show you pictures of the finished project.